Well, this happened to my parents. Both my parents came from Europe. My mother came over when she was 5 years old, and my dad came over by himself when he was about 14 years old. It's important that you understand your heritage and where you come from and what they had to go through to make it easy for you or where you're at today. My mother, when she came over, when she was 5 years old, she came over with her mother. Her two brothers couldn't come with her because they didn't have enough money to bring the two brothers. The father was working over here. But her mother and her father could not speak English. And here's this little girl at 5 years old. She picked it up much faster. She went to school, and she ended up could speak 5 different languages. And also she could write the 5 different languages. She was fluent in English, and she was a translator for her parents. Her parents never did learn the English language. She was their translator. She didn't have much. She didn't have anything. In fact, she used to have to go with a bucket. She'd go up along the railroad tracks, and the engineer would come by and with a train, and they'd see her standing with that bucket. They'd feel sorry for her, so they throw her some coal off the front of the train there, so she could take that coal and bring it back home, and that's how they heated it at home with the little pot stove. My dad came over on the basis that his father was killed during World War I, and he was the oldest of 7 children. Came over and started as a water boy on the railroad. They both worked hard. When they got married, they worked together as a team to the point where, when I was young, 5, 6, 7 years old, I was born at home. There was no such thing as welfare. There was no such thing as Social Security. There was nothing to support a family. You just worked hard. You had to work hard. And a lot of people were out of work. They both had, my mother would take in roomers. We had a 3-bedroom home, and she had these, the rooms upstairs were for roomers, people that would, men that came in from the same area. She'd rent these homes out and rent those rooms out. She'd do the laundry. She had the dining room roped off. We slept in one room, in front room, on the floor. And but I never knew that there was a problem. I had a ball with it. We played. We had a lot of fun. My dad worked 7 days a week. Always with a positive attitude. They never talked about problems or that they couldn't do anything. Always with a positive attitude. And if anything that was passed on to me was, if you got a positive attitude and you work hard, you're going to find something that's going to lead you to be successful. My dad, when he retired after being on that railroad for 40 years. Had the highest job on that dock at the time he retired. He'd leave when it was dark, and he'd come home when it was dark. You've got more advantages today than we ever had in our lifetime. How many got a personal computer? How long has it been since? When was personal computers? When did they come out? About 15 years ago. About 15 years ago. It's only been 15 years since the personal computer started to be developed. The top man in the profession in the software industry, you know who he is? Gates. How old is he? He's about 35, 37 years old. He developed this when he was developing software for the DOS. He developed that when he was young. I think he was only about 21 years old, 22 years old. And today he's probably one of the richest men in the country. He's a billionaire. Tremendous opportunities in the computer industry. If you're not in computers, I got grandchildren. The grandchild is 9 years old. You ought to see him on that computer. Can't believe it. You know, the future is working with new technology. How many have got a portable telephone? Car phone. How long has that been out? Not very long. The technology on the portable telephone right now is spreading to all over the world. And a lot of that technology was developed right here in Chicago, Motorola. Motorola is probably the biggest in the industry. I've got a son, my youngest son's electrical engineer down in Texas with Texas Instruments, and he travels all over the world working with computer chips. The reason I'm bringing this out is today, you've got a lot of opportunities if you look for them. You got problems, we have problems. But I don't think you can't overcome the problems. But you got to have the basis of developing and looking with a positive attitude. If you got a problem, don't think you're the only one that's got a problem. There's other people that have problems, and people work through it. When I went through college, I worked myself through college, but I didn't have much to look forward to when I got out of college, because the first thing where I was going when I got out of college was in the service. There was a war going on. I didn't remember from the time I was your age. I would say earlier than that, when I was 14, we had World War II. After World War II, you had the Korean War. After the Korean War, you had the Vietnam War. And today, I would say we're as close as we've ever been to having peace in the world. We've got Russia, who is always giving us problems, that finally are trying to develop their system into our system. Being entrepreneurs, they got problems. It's going to take a long time to get to where we're at, or to get anywhere near there. In China, there's markets opening up in China, in the Far East. We developed Japan. The United States developed Japan, helped Germany after World War II to the point where these countries are well on their own. And we're seeing countries in the Far East that are developing. Korea, South Korea, Thailand, Formosa. There's all types of opportunities for you. The reason I'm saying that, they cannot afford to have people that are working for them and they're not producing. So it's important for you to realize that where you end up working in the next 10 years depends on your own ability and your own desire. I'd like to thank you very much for your time.